Hey y'all, welcome back to week 2 of my pantry challenge, freezer challenge, using up what I have. And I have like a cold, so excuse the way I sound, but I am just cooking some squash and zucchini that I had in the freezer from the garden. I'm adding in some cream of chicken soup, and I'm also going to add in some chicken broth and just cook the squash and zucchini and onions until it's tender. And then I'm adding in some stuffing mix that I had in there that in my pantry that I needed to use up because I need to make room for some more for Thanksgiving. So I'm just going to stir that around, and this is good if you use broccoli, even cabbage. It makes a delicious cabbage casserole. So just put that in your baked or in your sprayed baking pan and just bake it at 350 until everything is hot and bubbly. And I took some potatoes and I pressure cooked them, and then I added in some butter, and I'm going to smash these and put those in the oven too. That way everything will cook in the oven. So I'm just going to mash those with my spoon. You could also use a glass or a cup, and those were so good. And I've got some pork chops from the freezer, and I'm going to put some seasoned coating mix on those. It just reminds me of my childhood. I love some shake and bake when I was a kid and as an adult. So I'm just putting those in the oven, and now everything is done. I've got my casserole. It is smelling so good. It's nice and hot and bubbly. Got my potatoes there, and those are so good with some ranch. And dinner was served, and this was quick and easy. It took maybe 30-40 minutes to get this all on the table. And now I'm going to make some sloppy joes. My grandkids had a ball game, so I didn't have but a few minutes to make dinner. So I've got my sloppy joe sauce, and I'm just going to add that to some ground beef that I had, and I've got a ton of ground beef that I still need to use up. And I do add a couple tablespoons of brown sugar because it's a little bit acidic, so I've just put that in there and mix that together. And we just had that on a bun, and I served it with some chips. You could also make some French fries, and this is just a perfect weeknight dinner when you don't have a lot of time. And now I'm going to make some beans. I've got some cabbage here that I had in my refrigerator, so I cut that up, and I added some bouillon cubes and some water. You could also add in some chicken broth. And I've got a cucumber that I need to use up, so I cut that up with an onion and added in some vinegar and sugar, just how you like your pickles to taste. And I'm going to let that sit in the refrigerator for a little bit. And I've got my pinto beans that I canned. I'm going to heat those up. I don't think they need anything. They've been canned with just salt, but you could also add in some bacon or some bacon grease. You could add in some onion powder and garlic powder, but I just like mine just with some salt. So I'm just going to heat that up, and while that's heating up, I'm going to go ahead and start on my cornbread, but I'm not going to make it the regular way since I don't have a lot of time tonight. I'm going to make it into pancakes. So I've just mixed it up per the directions, and then you'll just make them like pancakes when you have those bubbles. You can just turn them and flip them. They're also good if you cut up some okra and put it in there. Paula Deen did that, and it's life-changing, y'all. So I've heated up my pinto beans. I added in a squash with those potatoes and onions, and it was just like heaven. It was so good. I've got my cucumbers. They are ready. And my cabbage. I love that cabbage. The first couple ones I did kind of stuck, but the other ones did really good, and they are delicious, y'all. You got to try that. So this is what we had for dinner tonight. Doug was gone, so I could carb load. So me and my daughter had this for dinner, and it was so good. My grandmother would love to see me cook this dinner because I didn't like this growing up as a kid. I'd rather have McDonald's, but this is so good. And now I've got more potatoes, more carbs since Doug's gone, and he's on that low carb diet, but I've got some canned yams that I got on sale, and I have a ton that I got to use up, and some collard greens. And I got some more pork chops out of the freezer just because these are just quick and easy to defrost. So I'm just going to fry those in the frying pan. I've got some beans that I got out of the freezer that I just defrosted to go with it. And I'm going to heat up my collard greens. They're delicious. They don't even need any kind of seasoning. They're great right out of the can. Those Glory brand. So this is what we're going to have to eat tonight, y'all, and it was so good. I just love these comfort meals. Like I said, my grandmother made stuff like this for us all the time, and I didn't appreciate it, but I loved it. It was so good and so comforting, and especially since we don't eat a lot of carbs since Doug's doing that low carb diet. And now I'm going to make up another carb loaded pasta salad. So I'm going to use the packets of the Italian dressing that came from Aldi. So all you do is just add water and vinegar to it. And I can't remember what else. Vinegar, water, and the packet mix, I think. And now I'm going to make up another meatloaf. And I can add crackers and ketchup to this one since Doug's not here. So it just calls for an egg, crackers, ketchup, peppers, and onions, and I'll have that recipe down below because it's the best meatloaf recipe I've ever had. So I'm just going to put that in the oven, and while it's baking, I'm going to make up some potato salad. Like I said, I am going to make as many carbs as I can while Doug's gone. So I've got my home canned relish, and I'm going to mix that together with onion and mayonnaise, salt, and pepper. And I'm also going to add in some seasoning salt. I like doing that because it gives it a little bit of a celery taste. Ever since I watched the Pioneer woman do that, I always do that. So I'm going to mix up my sauce, and then I'll pour it over the potatoes. And I like my potatoes to be a little bit warm so it will soak up all that flavor that's in the peppers and onions and all that stuff. So I'm going to mix that up. I mean, it's just summer in a bowl, and since summer's going, I wanted to recreate all my favorite summer dishes, I guess, and eat all the carbs. So I'm going to put some more of that seasoning salt over the top and put that in the fridge. So now my meatloaf is done, and I can put ketchup over the top, and I like to sprinkle a little bit of brown sugar to kind of make it a little bit sweet, and it is so good, y'all. So I'm going to go ahead and get that ketchup over the top of the meatloaf, and then I'm going to find a side that will go with it. So I found this corn. This corn was in the freezer, and it is time to cook it. So I froze those whole, so I just put those in boiling water and cooked that, and it was just a treat. So I've got my meatloaf, my potato salad, and my pasta salad. I just added in that oil and vinegar mixture with the onions and peppers, and that's how I like my pasta salad. So this was another delicious meal, y'all. You will not go wrong with that meatloaf recipe. It is just one of the best meatloafs I've ever had. So I will have all the recipes that I can down below in the description box. I hope y'all enjoyed it, and I hope y'all get some inspiration to clean out your pantries, refrigerators, and freezers. So I hope y'all have a good weekend. I'll see you in the next one.